They say family is supposed to love you unconditionally. They lied. My family tried to kill the man I love, and they did it over a plate of pasta. And this is the story of how I took down my own parents. My husband, Eli, has a severe, life-threatening shellfish allergy, a fact my mother, Helen, used as a weapon. They invited us to dinner at their brand-new, expensive forever home, a home Eli had financially sacrificed for by quietly co-signing their mortgage and selling the most precious thing he owned. They thought their position was safe, that I was just the emotional daughter who would yell and eventually forgive. They were wrong. What they didn't know is that I am a contract law specialist. My job is to find the hidden loopholes, the tiny errors, and the legal exposures that no one else sees. After Eli ended up in the emergency room because of my mother's deliberate cruelty, I stopped being their daughter and started being their enemy. I didn't scream or fight. I used my mind to trace every lie they told about that house, every zoning failure, and every financial risk. My revenge wasn't a messy argument, it was a perfect, legal, and unavoidable collapse. You are about to read how I leveraged my husband's co-signed name and my own professional skill to freeze their loan, void their contract, and ensure that their cruel forever home was gone. They wanted to hurt my husband and walk away clean. Instead, I made sure their cruelty cost them every dollar, every dream, and every shred of their reputation. The entitlement was staggering. The consequence was permanent. I am Anya, and I work as a contract law specialist right here in Boston. I was 29 years old, and honestly, the best part of my life was my amazing partner, Eli. He is the kindest person you could ever meet, but he also has a very serious, life-threatening allergy to shellfish. This wasn't some minor dislike, this was a serious health condition that my parents, Arthur and Helen, knew perfectly well. They invited us to dinner to celebrate their brand new, expensive forever home. I felt a terrible, cold knot deep in my stomach about having to go, but Eli tried to ease my worry. He held my hand tightly and told me, "They're your family, Anya. Let's make one final effort to find some peace." The most painful part of this whole situation was a big secret. Eli had actually helped them get the massive loan for the house because their own credit scores were so bad, they couldn't qualify a loan. He had quietly co-signed their mortgage to help them out of pure generosity. To even get the money for the down payment, he sold a very special, old guitar that belonged to his late brother. It was a massive, personal sacrifice, and they never knew the true emotional cost of that guitar to him. I should have trusted my first instinct, which was to stay home and protect him. The dinner at their new, large house was instantly tense and felt completely unnatural. My mother, Helen, had set the dining table perfectly, using all her most expensive and beautiful dishes, trying to show off the new wealth. My anxiety spiked severely the moment she brought out the main dish, a bowl of rich, creamy-looking pasta. I quickly leaned toward Eli to whisper a warning, but Helen cut me off before I could say a word. She put on a fake, sweet smile and announced loudly, "Don't worry, darling, I remembered Eli. It's imitation crab, it's perfectly safe for him to eat." Eli, who always chose to believe the best in people, nodded politely and took a bite of the pasta. Everything seemed okay for a brief moment, but then, after just a few more bites, he started frantically scratching his neck, and a terrifying, struggling, wheezing sound came from his throat. I immediately screamed, "EpiPen," and plunged the medicine into his thigh as fast as I could. My father, Arthur, stood completely frozen by the doorway, offering no help at all. Helen still insisted, "It's just a little butter, he's overreacting to the drama." We had to rush him to the emergency room as quickly as the car would take us. When we got to the hospital, the emergency room doctor delivered the awful, cold truth. Eli was suffering from a massive, life-threatening allergic reaction to real shrimp protein. The dish was certainly not imitation crab at all. I knew right then that this was not a simple cooking mistake, it was a deliberate, intentional act. I vividly remembered the small, ugly, cold smirk my mother had given right after she promised the food was safe and then quickly rushed to clear the plates. She had done this to him on purpose, and she clearly took pleasure in the risk. She had knowingly and willingly risked my husband's life, and she showed absolutely no remorse or concern for his health. This was not just carelessness, this was a premeditated, cruel attack. My fear and shock instantly melted away, replaced by a cold, quiet, hard purpose. I would not engage in a messy emotional fight, I would instead use my greatest strength, the law, to make them pay for their cruelty. It took 2 very long, stressful days before the doctors finally said Eli was strong enough to leave the hospital. He was very weak, pale, and unusually silent. When we arrived back at our house, he refused to look at the empty space on the wall where his late brother's guitar used to hang. When he finally spoke, his voice was thin, full of pain and self-loathing. I signed a loan for people who tried to kill me. The shame and guilt that he had trusted them was crushing him completely. He had made a huge, sacrificial gesture from his heart to help them, and they had betrayed him with poison. He blamed himself for being too kind and naive, not them for being monsters. My heart was completely shattered, and my final, small thread of family loyalty to my parents snapped forever. They had attacked his body and, much worse, his good soul. My entire focus shifted entirely to the single-minded goal of revenge, but a measured, legal revenge. A full week after Eli was released from the hospital, my mother sent me one final, deeply insulting text message: "Hope Eli's feeling better. Maybe skip Shellfish next time, smiling face with smiling eyes." The cold, casual emoji made my entire body vibrate with pure rage. They fully expected me to start an immense, emotional screaming fight and then, eventually, after a lot of tears, forgive them. I decided to give them the exact opposite: complete, unnatural silence. I sent no text back at all. Instead, I went straight to my work computer and pulled up my specialized legal software. My job is contract law, and I am an expert at finding the small, hidden problems in large agreements. I would not fight them with messy emotions, I would fight them with precise legal documents. I was done being their victim. I would hurt them back, legally and permanently, by going directly after the one thing they wanted most, their new forever home. My master plan was to use my professional legal skills to utterly destroy their house purchase. Their expensive forever home was in a new development built by a cheap, rushed construction company. I started searching every public record available for that specific house and the land it sat on. I looked for small, critical problems like zoning disputes, broken city development laws, hidden HOA lawsuits, problems with the neighborhood rules, and any strange, vague sentence in the original deed. My main goal was clear: find a single material misrepresentation, a critical, demonstrable lie about the property, that would make the entire sales contract invalid. I would use the smallest legal flaw to make their whole big purchase collapse. The most powerful legal weapon I possessed was Eli's name. Because he had generously co-signed the mortgage, he was legally considered a partial owner and had the absolute right to access many of the bank's most sensitive documents and emails. I logged into the bank lender's secure portal using his shared information. I searched through every email with the mortgage broker. Hidden deep in one long email chain, I found a truly cruel message from my father, Arthur. He called Eli a placeholder who just signs the papers and openly boasted about exploiting his kindness. He viewed my husband as a disposable tool. I saved that PDF immediately and securely. They used Eli's name to gain power. Now, I would use his legal name to completely withdraw their power and ruin the deal. I spent many tedious, draining hours reading through all the tiny, complex legal print in the land use contract. Finally, I found the exact legal loophole I needed, a termination clause buried deep inside the land use agreement. This clause clearly stated that the bank could immediately stop the loan if the seller made a significant lie that harmed the house's market value. The builder had lied about 2 main issues: the severely faulty drainage system and a huge utility easement, a strip of land reserved for public use, that went directly through the middle of the backyard. This easement clearly broke local city building codes. This was enough legal proof to absolutely cancel the entire contract. Their dream house was built on a foundation of lies, and I held the proof of that lie. I needed to ensure this proof reached the correct official people without any chance of the information being traced back to me. I used a hidden server and a secure, anonymous email address to file 3 separate, highly detailed complaints with the city zoning department about the broken utility easement rule. Then, I sent an anonymous, secret tip to the bank's head compliance officer. My message was short, professional, and chillingly clear: your collateral isn't clean. Check the drainage easement. I did not file any court papers in my own name. I simply fed the legal and municipal systems the exact, factual information they needed to start the official investigation. The destructive official process was now set in motion and would continue on its own. The official system worked exactly as my data analysis predicted. Within a week, the bank flagged their mortgage for a very serious internal review. My parents were calling the bank constantly, furious about the bureaucratic delay. They received a formal letter stating their loan was under internal review for material misrepresentation concerning collateral value. They immediately called me, begging me to look at the letter and fix their problem. I looked at it and calmly told them it looked like a routine banking delay. They genuinely believed it was just annoying red tape. They had no idea I had just locked their dream home permanently into a legal disaster. My mother, Helen, was starting to show significant signs of stress and anger. She found me waiting for my coffee near my office and immediately started yelling. She didn't offer any apology for the shrimp, she yelled, it was just food. The loan is stalling because you're always so dramatic. She was attempting to use emotional abuse, a technique called gaslighting, to make me doubt myself and feel guilty. I did not argue with her. Instead, I secretly pressed the record button on my phone and let her keep shouting. I recorded the whole conversation and saved the audio file to my secure evidence folder. Her desperate, manipulative outburst was now officially documented proof against her in any future court battle. The city acted on my detailed zoning complaint and officially hit the property developer with a huge legal stop work order. The realtor handling my parents' house, a woman named Petra, went into full professional panic. I managed to get access to her recent emails. Petra sent a desperate message to my father, Arthur: did you disclose all material facts to the cosigner, Eli? I realized my parents had not only lied to Eli but also lied to their own realtor. This failure to tell Eli about the house's zoning issues was another major legal error, meaning the entire sale could be cancelled from a second, independent angle. I needed one final, powerful piece of undeniable proof that the house was a complete financial disaster. I hired a specialized geotech company, using a fake company name, to check the soil stability behind my parents' house. Their professional report confirmed the land was severely prone to soil erosion. The entire backyard was slowly washing away toward the public easement. I got a clear photo of the unstable ground and the full, detailed analysis. I forwarded this professional geotechnical erosion report to the bank's main risk department. This was the final nail. The house was now deemed a catastrophic material risk and the loan was officially dead. Arthur finally understood that I was the source of all their trouble. The zoning complaints, the frozen loan, the questions about Eli. He and Helen drove quickly to my workplace and waited for me in the lobby. Arthur's face was dark red as he shouted, "You're trying to ruin our life over a dinner." Helen was sobbing and called me cruel and unnatural. I looked directly at them without showing any fear. I refused to speak a single word. But I kept thinking about the terrible, choking, wheezing sound Eli made in the car. Their action was not just a dinner, it was a deliberate choice to hurt. 2 days later, the official, devastating news was delivered to their temporary address. Their mortgage lender formally withdrew all funding for the house. The title company, citing the erosion report and the zoning problems, refused to give insurance. The entire house deal collapsed. They not only lost the house but also the substantial $30,000 down payment they had put down. The sold sign was quickly replaced with a sign reading "Contract voided." My parents were stunned and lost, but they still did not have complete, official proof that their own daughter had single-handedly destroyed their dream. I knew it was time to tell Eli the full truth about my actions. I sat him down and calmly explained every step, the zoning reports, the hidden easement, the erosion reports, and the final withdrawal of the loan. He listened without interrupting, his hand resting on my arm. He finally confessed, "I should have known better than to trust them." I told him, "Your action was an act of pure kindness. Their action was a choice of pure cruelty. You are not responsible for their monstrous choices." He nodded, and the heavy weight of self-blame finally lifted from him. "You didn't just get revenge, Anya. You got justice." That sentence was the complete reward I needed. The terrible consequences for my parents continued to multiply and spread. The documents I provided caused the property developer to face multiple legal claims and investigations, forcing him to cancel 6 other sales in that neighborhood. My parents became social pariahs, the family whose loan problem ruined the development for all their friends. They faced constant shame and had to explain why their perfect new neighborhood was now an empty, frozen construction site under official investigation. Their isolation was complete. The family pressure became unbearable. My Aunt Marlene, Helen's sister and my last remaining connection to them, showed up uninvited. She was crying loudly and hysterically. "You've taken this too far, Anya. They're going to lose everything they have now." I took the photo of Eli, bruised and hooked up to hospital machines, and placed it directly in her hands. "They started it, Aunt Marlene. They tried to kill him over food. I finished it with paperwork." I calmly shut the door. This was the final, definitive boundary. Arthur, completely desperate to save his professional reputation, made one final, foolish mistake. He wrote a long, angry public post on a local business forum calling Eli a manipulative outsider who had sabotaged the deal to hurt his family. I immediately sent his angry post to the mortgage lender, the HOA lawyer, and the head of the local bar association. His public lie caused all 3 professional organizations to blacklist him from securing any future legal or financial business in the city. The final, devastating financial news was officially confirmed by the county. The bank officially sold the house contract. Foreclosure was final and completely irreversible. The bank quickly sold the house to a development fund for much less than the original price. My parents were left with the massive debt from the down payment they couldn't get back and absolutely no house at all. They lost their dream, their money, and their professional standing, all in one quick, public blow. I made sure to reverse the emotional damage. I had been checking the online auction sites for months, and I finally found Eli's late brother's vintage guitar. I bought it back and presented it to him on our anniversary. He stared at the instrument, then at me. "You always bring things back," he said, his voice full of silent gratitude. It was a clear, perfect symbol that our life and his peace had been completely restored. We had a strong legal case against my parents for attempted harm and emotional distress. But we chose not to sue them in court. Why? Because the truth was, their credit, their finances, and their social standing were already completely ruined. Their self-inflicted damage was far greater than any amount of money a judge could have given us. By not suing, we gained the ultimate reward, we were free, and they were left with the heavy weight of their own choices. 2 months after the foreclosure, Helen sent me one last email from a strange, new address. "I hope you're happy now, Anya." I typed my final reply, a single, cold line that ended our relationship forever. "Eli still can't breathe right when it rains." Then, I immediately blocked that email address. I had given her the painful, honest truth about the permanent damage she caused, and then I completely removed her access to my life. 1 year later, our life was completely new and better than ever. I started a successful consulting firm that helped companies find hidden problems in their contracts, a business built directly on the strategy one used for revenge. Eli teaches music therapy to people who have suffered trauma. We bought a beautiful new home near the ocean. No cosigners. No compromises. Our life is peaceful, safe, and built only on the deep respect we have for each other. Some people still tell me that revenge is a terrible thing to seek. I still disagree with them. My parents tried to destroy the man I loved over a plate of shrimp. I repaid them not with angry words or threats, but with legal intelligence and careful paperwork. I watched their life collapse because their foundation, built on lies and the selfish belief that I would always forgive them, was fake. I never raised my voice. I just raised my standards. And honestly, watching the people who tried to destroy us suffer the full, complete consequences of their own awful choices was the most satisfying form of justice I could have ever engineered. I was finally, completely free.